Guys, we got really big news. That Nvidia report that they got subpoenaed by the government was fake. Is there a scam involved? Maybe. Maybe Bloomberg took some shorts on Nvidia and then they pass that story to make the markets tank. Because even though the markets would have tanked a little bit anyways, because of the weak manufacturing numbers, they wouldn't have tanked nearly as much as they did if it hadn't been for that fake story that Nvidia was being subpoenaed by the government authorities. And Bloomberg did actually circulate that particular story. Looks like they didn't they didn't really check their sources, and they didn't check with Nvidia. Nvidia has given a powerful response. Hopefully the NASDAQ and other stock indexes start to recover soon. So if you look at Nvidia, says it has not been subpoenaed by the DOJ and probe. Bloomberg reported on the antitrust investigation Tuesday. Nvidia says it has been in contact with the Justice Department, but it has not, once again, not been subpoenaed. So they were responding to a Bloomberg News report about the DOJ sending out subpoenas, and we spent the last day or two actually talking about this because we thought this was real. And they say they've actually been in contact with a government agency and they've been working with them for a while and they've been answering their questions, but they have not been subpoenaed and they haven't really done anything wrong. When they do want a subpoena, they send requests for information. Usually they actually do these things if you're not willingly giving them the information, which is commonly referred to as a subpoena. The Department of Justice has sent such a request seeking information about Nvidia's acquisition of Run AI and aspects of its chip business, according to one person with direct knowledge of the matter. In its response to the story, Nvidia said that its edge in AI computing market stems from the superiority of its products. And I don't think we can actually disagree with Nvidia on that one because their products are indeed superior, at least in the high-end market. There is nothing that can outperform Nvidia. And they're saying we're winning on merit, we're not doing anti-competitive practices. As reflected in our benchmark results and value to customers, and customers can choose whatever solution is best for them. And most people, when they're looking for graphics cards and stuff, will choose Nvidia because Nvidia is actually superior to the other products that are actually available. We have inquired with the U.S. Department of Justice and have not been subpoenaed. Nonetheless, we are happy to answer any questions regulators may have about our business. The investigators, they have been investigating this for a while, but they haven't really come up with anything that we know of yet. So the subpoena was definitely a little bit pre-timed. They might get a subpoena later, but they have not gotten one yet. So it is either early news or fake news. And right now it's looking more like fake news, but that could change at any time. And this has definitely hurt the stock market. It made Nvidia drop by something like $300 billion or something. And Nvidia might think about suing whoever made up this story because it did actually hurt their stock price significantly. However, it did give people a chance to buy in very cheap, as I do believe Nvidia will quickly recover from this. And the DOJ declined to comment. Antitrust officials are concerned that Nvidia is making it harder to switch to other suppliers and penalizes buyers that don't exclusively use its artificial intelligence chips. So it's not really making them less compatible with other chips. But that doesn't really seem to be the case. And there are people who asked not to be identified who actually told this, but there weren't too many details. They've been investigating the purchase of Run AI, a transaction announced in April. The company makes software for managing AI computing, and there are concerns that the purchase will make it more difficult for customers to switch away from Nvidia chips. But there isn't really anything to switch away to right now because there's no other chips that are even remotely close to what Nvidia gives in performance. Regulators are also inquiring whether Nvidia gives preferential supply and pricing to customers who use its technology exclusively to buy its complete systems. According to People, Nvidia has drawn regulatory scrutiny since becoming the world's most valuable chip maker and a key beneficiary of AI spending boom. Sales have been more than doubling each quarter, and it's eclipsed one-time chip leaders such as Intel Corp. I do think it's one, if not the most valuable company in the world. But there doesn't seem to be too much monopolistic practices. And the company has actually come out and said the subpoena was indeed not real. Like I said, they should do an investigation of who made that article and why Bloomberg kind of published it without checking sources, because there might be some foul play in there. I'm not saying there was or there wasn't, but such a big piece of news that could make a corporation drop by hundreds of billions of dollars, that does need to be checked, and there could be some legal remedy going on very, very soon for Nvidia. So actually, let's talk about Friday's labor report and what it could do to the crypto market. Now, I do think Friday's labor report will come in softer than expected. The manufacturing numbers, as we've seen last week, came in softer than expected. I do think the economy did actually create less jobs in August than in July. The manufacturing numbers pointed to that, yes, it's still expanding, but expanding slower than we thought. So I think the numbers are actually going to be quite a bit softer, or at least a little bit softer. Now, I don't think there's going to be a catastrophic drop like last month, because we don't have the whole Japanese fiasco. They're not upping interest rates again. But I do believe there'll be a slight downturn in the market on Friday. Now, I'm obviously not 100% sure of this, but I do believe there'll be a slight downturn in the market on Friday, just like because the labor numbers were soft, signaling, and there's going to be more worries about a recession because of that. But then, that's going to prompt the Fed to do a bigger interest rate cut or do more consecutive interest rate cuts, which will actually be overall good for the crypto market. So it might be like a short-term dump maybe for the weekend, followed by basically recovery next week. How much do I think it'll dump? Maybe 54 or so. I don't know if it'll go any lower than that. I see the economy and the stock indexes dumping a little bit as well on Friday after this news. I think it's kind of expected, so people are braced for it because of the manufacturing news. But if it is soft, it could have a little bit more effect on it. Not a huge amount, but a little bit more effect on it. So if you're looking at a good time to actually pick that up, maybe like after Friday and during the weekend is the case. Obviously, it's a bit of a risk because there's zero guarantee that what I said is going to happen. Because sometimes, like when it's slightly soft and if it actually looks like it's going to make the Fed cut rates more, it doesn't actually really go down because everyone really wants Fed rate cuts at this point. And, like the Democratic Party obviously has been pushing for it because the election's coming up. And right now, if you notice, like gas is actually really, really low in price right now in terms on the international market, not in the U.S. market. They've been gouging us like crazy on the U.S. market. The international, the U.S. actual like price for natural gas is like below $70 right now, or it is at the time of this recording. And that would correlate with like more of like $2 gas than $3 gas. But of course, there's price gouging and there's no anti-price gouging rules. There's no like price controls or anything. So these companies can basically do whatever they want. But with gas coming down, I am seeing gas like below $3 in my area. And that does actually signal a further decrease in gas prices. Now, they're expecting demand for gas in China to actually sink more because the economy is in shambles there and they can't really fix it in any way. They just don't have enough young people to support the old people there. So they're not going to be able to fix that in any way. And OPEC Plus seems to be raising its production soon because some countries do want to produce more gas to actually sell. So this increasing supply with decreasing demand does not sit well for the price of gas. So as we get in onto the fall and winter, look for the price of gas to fall at the pump even more. And that's going to play very, very well into inflation. And that brings us to our CPI for next week. The CPI is, I think, Tuesday, Wednesday of the second full week of each month. And I do believe the CPI this time is going to come in slightly softer than expected. I don't exactly know what the target rate right now. I think it's like 2.5, 2.6. It might be 2.5 or 2.4 when it actually comes in. And I do think gas prices did start to fall last month, but they were still pretty high last month. So I'm not really sure if the fall will actually have an effect on the August numbers. Next month's numbers will obviously be pretty good when we report them in October. But this particular, like last month's numbers might not be quite as we expected. I don't expect the CPI have gone up because the price of foods just hasn't really gone up in the last month or two or like the last several months, honestly. And I do believe that like this will actually help the market if it's at or slightly below where the CPI is expected to be. Now, the PCE did actually come in a couple of weeks ago, and I do actually believe the PCE it was a little bit lower. I think it was like 0.1% lower than expected, which means like the producer price index, like people are producing things for cheaper, which should translate to a slightly bit of savings for consumers as well. So with the inflation rate actually decreasing and the labor market softening, the Fed has full clear on September 17th to lower rates. The real question is like, will they lower by 50 basis points or 25? Like I've said before, I think it's going to be 25. But if inflation comes in much, much softer than expected, and with the the lower gas prices on the international scale right now, and also if the CPI numbers come in softer with the softer labor numbers and like the lower gas prices, I think they could look at lowering at 50 basis points. I think it's just going to prompt them to do 3 consecutive cuts in 3 consecutive Fed meetings, which is like September, November, December, and we'll enter the new year with like 4.5 to 4.75, which will actually make basically the bond yield go much lower, hopefully releasing a lot of money into the crypto market, because as bonds and the repo stuff actually becomes less and less lucrative, the crypto and the stock market's going to become more and more lucrative. I do expect, I really hope there's a rebound tomorrow for stocks and crypto. This Nvidia news did actually come out at about 3:10 p.m. Central Standard Time, and it was updated on 3:43. So that's 4:43 Eastern Standard Time, which is after the bell. So there wasn't like time for people to actually react before markets actually closed today. You know, the timing is very, very peculiar on this. Like they timed it like obviously before markets closed yesterday. So like there was plenty of time for markets to basically fall. But today, yes, today they kind of timed it, like where this news that they didn't get sued came after markets closed. So they had like the full day for like Nvidia to actually dump. And I do hope and think that Nvidia will actually recover tomorrow. And that should really help the AI coins as well. So the AI coins have been losing a little bit more than others. So if this does affect, it should give it a little bit of a bump. And for some reason, crypto is sort of tied to this AI thing. So hopefully crypto gets a little bit of a bump tomorrow too. Obviously, crypto sentiment is really, really low right now. I think it's bordering on extreme fear. And when that generally happens, it does generally mean the market is actually going to reverse in position as well. So realistically, the Nvidia thing actually should help. Hopefully that counterbalances the drop that we might have on Friday because of the lower labor numbers. And then like when the CPI comes in tomorrow, next Tuesday or Wednesday, I think we're going to have much, much better times as the market will actually react really positively to that. Korea is clamping down a little bit on crypto exchanges. But they're actually, it's like good clamping down. Like, unlike the SEC, which is like senselessly trying to sue everyone, South Korea is actually getting some really good rules in. They're basically saying that exchanges have to hold the assets 1-to-1 for customers. They have to pay interest and like staking and stuff on time for customers. And they can't commingle customer funds a la FTX. So the Korean authorities are actually really trying to protect customers. And I do think they're going to they're looking at exchanges for like basically illegal activity, like commingling, maybe like even exchanges trading against their customers and things like that. So they're actually doing very, very well for their customers against these exchanges. And this is what the SEC and other agencies should be doing, rather than doing this like regulation by enforcement when they're randomly going around and suing people regardless of what the company is actually doing. They're also cracking down on Telegram, but Telegram is actually complying with South Korea. So Telegram is kind of cracking because everyone is suing them and they don't want to get kicked out of every single country. They've actually complied with the Korean government by removing certain illicit material. Not really sure how you guys feel about that. I think that's perfectly fine that they're like getting rid of illicit material. Don't really want that material on there. But yeah, you can see like Telegram's kind of being strong-armed. And all these governments obviously waited until Durov was arrested so they can actually bring charges against him. if they wanted to bring charges against him. Because if you don't have him arrested, he's like off somewhere in the UAE, you can't really do anything to him. But now that he's under custody, Telegram is more bending to government demands. Because when France actually asked them to remove certain content and give over certain data, they obviously wouldn't do it. But now, since he's under custody, they're a little bit more obliging. So that's the news for today. Let me know what you think. Like and subscribe, hit that bell notifications button. Thank you and have a nice day.